Lovely, lovely, lovely. Hello, everyone. It has been such a long time. Welcome, light workers, starseed, miracle makers, angels, and even earthlings down here. Welcome to Miracle Monday. We have been gone for a long time. That is because change can be huge. And tonight's evening, we're talking about how to deal with change, how to go with the flow, how to adapt to your personal life and this global life, all transforming and changing with or without us. So change is going to happen whether you've really agreed to have it happen or not. And I'm going to share some of my stories to either make you laugh or cry, which I've probably been in between both. So I'm Joan of Angels. I am so happy to see you all. If you're new to me, welcome. If you've been with me before, I'm just so happy to see you back. And it's a really interesting world. It's the first Miracle Monday since 2023. And all I could say is that I'm happy to see you. So let's start our usual getting together. Let us know where you're from. I know where a lot of you are from, but it always helps to put it out here. You made it on time. Welcome, Canada. Welcome to all of my friends. Change is huge. Absolutely, Patricia. And that is why we're talking about it. Change is huge. We all want to be able to adapt and be changeable. But is that the easiest thing to do? And you know, some of us cling on for dear life, holding on till our nails are ripped away and we are just forced into change before we're even ready. So I'm happy to see you all. There's Catlin. I haven't seen you for a long time, honey. Happy New Year. Christian, good to see you. Just dive in. There's Kelly Bird. There's Patricia, two Patricias. Mary Jean, Emily, happy to see you. Blessed by the best, Mary Jean. Tina Marie is here. She's in the back room, guys. Send her some love also, as you're sending me some love too. All right, so we're going to get started today. So everyone, let's just take a deep breath and let it all out. And once again, take a deep breath and let it all out. Mother, Father, God, we are just so grateful to come together on Miracle Monday, manifesting miracles, manifesting the outrageous, manifesting what in a 3D world might seem impossible, but on a higher interdimensional frequency happens all the time. So we are just grateful. The guides, angels are all with us. And when you anchor in and let us know where you are, then what's going to happen, my friends, is that all of those angelic teams around you are going to be lit up, and all the angelic teams around me and every one of you are lit up. And suddenly, if we were out in the galaxy looking down, we would see a light-filled earth. And that is what we want to see. So rub your hands together a little bit like this. Good, and start to feel that energy. And I do that all the time, and I like to do it at the beginning so we can feel that soothing, calm energy, and we can feel connected from our hearts, from our third eye, and actually from our energetic field. All right, good. So how's everyone doing tonight? On a scale of 1 to 10, put down what your vital force is before we get started, and then we can kind of see what has happened for us. All right, yes, you're feeling the shift. So a lot is going on the planet, not just in Joan's personal life, of which I will share a lot with you, because some of it goes along with the uncertainties in the planet. And so we know that change is coming to both the United States and the world. A lot of change we can't stop. It's going to happen with or without us. Some of it has to do with global medical things. Some of it has to do with personal sovereignty. Some of it has to do with money, supplies, resources, food supplies. You know, what is going to happen? We know that there are some uncertainties about everything, and that what was normal 3 years ago is not going to happen again. So we have to be ready to go with the flow. Now, what does that mean to go with the flow? Go with the flow, my friends. Go with the flow, or flow with the go. But going with the flow isn't just, oh, chill, throw up your arms and let the wave take you. It really means learning how to navigate successfully. So I'm going to start by pulling a card, and then I'm also going to share with you some of the transitions that I've been going through, which I think some of you might relate to. All right. So first thing is, when I said I'm going to share with you a little bit about my story, the card is like, says the story wants to be written. These stories want to be told. And the second card I got, which is for the evening, is to focus on the light. So no matter what is going on for you in your personal world, and if you're undergoing change, let us know. But focus on the light no matter what. And that is something that I've been teaching. I've been preparing a class called Soul Mission Activations. And the bottom line is that we came here to remember we're light beings and to hold the light, even if we lose everything, even if we're lost and confused. The one thing that needs to be stable is our connection to source. So that could be hard in certain circumstances. Okay, I get so excited I trip over my words. How is Tina Marie? Let's see. It will definitely bring my energy up. Yeah. So one of the reasons Tina and I love doing Miracle Monday, so it doesn't matter where we are when we start. By the time we're done, we feel higher than a kite. We feel like we've shifted our energy, transformed into a lighter field by working with all of you. And that is our intention. So if we meet that intention, let us know. All right. So many of you know this. Back in August, I left my home of 7 years and I went off into Never Never Land. I went off to Mount Shasta for several months, and I went to Mexico, and I'm working with Neil. I'm still working with Neil, but I went on this whirlwind of a ride. It felt great because I didn't have to move a lot, 3 months in Mount Shasta, 6 weeks in Mexico. But by the time the 6 weeks happened, and I'm still supposed to be in Mexico, but I left early. Okay, I was supposed to be in Mexico till the 20th, but I left early because it became very chaotic for me. I couldn't focus anymore. I couldn't concentrate. I just couldn't focus. There were too many people around me. I'm an introvert. I'm used to living alone. And it suddenly hit me. So I came back, and I've been, we'll talk about that. Very good. And I've been really coming back, and I've been unsettled because I realized that I don't actually have a home anymore. And so in trying to figure out where I can physically be this week, next week, the week after, without actually having a home. And why don't I have a home? That's a great question, because I'm traveling and teaching a lot this year. So my life vision, guys, since I was 30, was to heal and inspire millions of people around the world. I didn't know why I had that vision, but it was a vision given to me when I was 30 years old, when I began my chiropractic career. And I embraced it because it felt right, that I'm here to heal and inspire. And I'm here to heal and inspire in a lot of ways. One is through actual healing, which we do on Miracle Monday, when we feel on fire, I've worked with a lot of you and we've shifted that energy. So healing, hands-on healing or long distance healing is something that I do. But there's other ways of healing, inspiring as well, and which is through Miracle Monday, or through the talks I do, or through public speaking. So my vision has always been to heal, inspire, and uplift humanity. When I was a chiropractor, it was very frustrating because adjusting one-on-one became, one-on-one. Oh my God, how am I going to reach more people? So I've had this vision since I was 30 years old, guys. And no matter what has happened, I have never given up on this vision. Susan's one of my dear friends. Welcome, sweetheart. I'm so happy to see you. So I've never given up on my vision. It didn't matter the trials, the tribulations, the years I had no money, the years that I was a starving artist. All I cared about was that I had this vision and I was going to implement it come HELL or high water. I mean, I was bound and determined to manifest this vision. And what I'm going to tell you is that many of you have a life purpose and a soul mission, and it may even seem impossible. It may seem very difficult to access and do, but Spirit sometimes sends us these challenges so we learn to overcome them. We learn to stay balanced within these changes. So I found myself for the last few years knowing that I was stuck in a plateau. I stayed in my house for 7 years. I probably should have just changed for 5, stayed there for 5, but here I was for 7 because I was afraid of change. Okay. I was terrified of what was going to happen when I let go. And I had several plant medicine ceremonies I went to during that time. And the first one, as I began in that plant medicine journey, I saw myself clinging on. I was in the river, and I was holding on for dear life to the side of the river, which was flowing really fast. And I was like a crab clinging on. I wasn't going to let go no matter what. So I've gone into the last few years knowing that I've been clinging and not willing to let go because of fear, because I don't know where it's going to bring me. So one of the issues we have is that we don't know the outcome of change. We do know the outcome of not changing, which is more of the same or that feeling of stuck. So I've had that feeling of, oh my God, how am I going to let go? How am I going to shift so that I can step into healing and inspiring the millions of people that I have always felt I'm supposed to work with, that I feel called as Joan of Angels to raise the vibrational frequency. So when Neil reached out to me last spring to work with him as his director of productions for Portal to Ascension, I said yes, because I knew it was the change I needed. So I have, and because my vision also included speaking around the world, I embraced it and said, yes, bring it on, bring it on. And I went out and I followed Neil around the world and worked with him. I'm kind of exaggerating a little bit, but not really. And it was really very powerful until I realized that I'm still an introvert and I can't keep hanging on to Neil either. We worked together really well, but I had lost even sight of my own individuality. So I came back here to California, where now I'm looking at, well, where am I going to be next week or the week after, and really trying to figure out a whole new way of being that works with my own self. Does this make sense? Now, meanwhile, I have had some powerful inner work, and I want to share that with you because I'm doing some of that work with people now. So on the inner realms, I've had several Akashic record readings and healings, and they've really been very powerful. And some of you may have even seen it. There was a show I did with Wada. I interviewed her about 2 months ago, and she started dropping these bombs on the interview about me as a goddess and me in these other lifetimes. And I had never wanted to embrace it. But what came to me when I first started working with Neil, when we got to Mount Shasta, the day we got to Mount Shasta, we sat down and had a meeting. And I said, Neil, I feel like we left Atlantis. And, when Atlantis drowned, I feel like we must have left Atlantis and we had these secret teachings. And I feel like Portal to Ascension is that way to disseminate these secret teachings. And that you and I are like the priests carrying out and anchoring it in around the world. Because we're going to Egypt, we're going to Glastonbury, we're going to different places. And so I started operating on that vision of helping establish sacred mystery schools. And shortly after that, I had an Akashic record reading, which revealed that I was the high priestess of Atlantis when it went down, which I knew because I had visions of the drowning of my tribe in the water, and I began to see visions of who I sent out, like Alan became Thoth and carried out all the scrolls, and different people in my life and how they fit in. And I started to have a real epiphany about not only being the Egyptian high priestess, but the Atlantean, but the Egyptian high priestess and the high priestess Hathor, which has led me to studying Egyptian magic, which I didn't realize that Egyptian magic is very different than most magic. And it has to do with something I organically do anyway, which is about calling in the energy of that which you want to embrace. So let's say you want to embrace being an ancient Egyptian goddess like Hathor. You start to envision Hathor. You start to envision Hathor was the goddess of the bird, of sparrows, and she worked with your eyes. So you start to envision these pieces and actually being inside of the goddess Hathor. And before you know it, I was actually inside the ancient goddess Hathor, which has been quite powerful to learn these lessons. So as I've been learning on the inner realms, how to deal with magic and my growth, I'm still learning to deal with the outer world, the changes in the physical. So how do we deal with changes in the physical? Well, first of all, we have to remember that we have our own archetypes. Yes, we have our own energy fields. So the first thing I'm going to say is that knowing who you are when you go through these changes or when the world is changing is really important. So that's a great question, my friends at Full Spectrum Universe. I'm learning how I am. I think I felt chaotic. I felt a little bit overwhelmed and kind of lost because I couldn't even keep track of time. I didn't know if it was Monday, we were going to do Miracle Monday, or if it was a Tuesday or a Thursday. So I don't even know my point. I really got that I was just going to share with you some of this. All right. So what kinds of changes are we talking about that we can't control? We can't control the outer world. We can't control the governments. We can't control the medical field. We can't control the school system, but we can input into it. So we can make our voices heard. We can accept or not accept what's going on. So we can use our right of yes or no, what's right. We can use our discernment. So discernment is what we use when we say, is this good for me? Is it good for me to be here at Victoria's house? Was it good for me to stay in Mexico that long? Obviously not, because when I tuned into it, I couldn't wait to leave. So not that it was a bad experience. Being in Mexico was great, but it was time for me to come back to center. So within the midst of change, the first thing to notice is, how do I feel about these changes? Do they support me or do they not? If they support me, great. What is the frequency of those changes? So if we go back to something that I've taught often when I teach about the discernment scale, it's like, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? You can really determine where is the best place for you to be. So I might say something, well, is it good for me to go out to the desert and be there on a scale of 1 to 10? Not even taking into account anyone else, but your own self. Is it good for you to stay where you are? Is it good for you to hang around with these people? Is it good for you to continue where you're going? So in looking at that, that is something for each and every one of you to look at it. Now, we can create our own reality, and that is another thing to address. So we're on 2 different timelines. There's a timeline that if you accept everything you're reading as to be true, if you're accepting the whole mainstream scenario, then you're on one timeline which is more of the timeline of what I like to call control, being controlled by others. But if you're on this other timeline, which is called your personal empowerment timeline, or the ascension timeline, or the new earth timeline, then that allows for miracles to happen and to step into the miraculous, basically, because that's what it's going to take is miracles. And that allows for a new timeline to be created from your own thoughts or from the collective thoughts. So if here today we were all deciding that the timeline we want to be on is the more powerful, high vibrational ascension timeline where miracles happen, where natural immunity rocks, where we have our personal freedoms to choose where we're going, with whom, and where, and why. And that's our timeline where we have an abundance of financial flow, where we have people who support us. Then we can consciously shift into that and watch the universe respond, because we live in a responsive consciousness. When our consciousness upgrades, then we create the new consciousness. So this timeline that we're creating together isn't written in stone. It's a process of, as each one of us decides what timeline we want to be on, then we create this new timeline, which actually then becomes manifest because your thoughts create your reality. So I had for years envisioned myself speaking and teaching around the world, traveling through Europe. I had no idea how that would happen, but I never lost sight of that vision. And so when Neil suggested I work with him on this, of course I said yes. And of course I said yes to the changes and transformation, because I knew it was actually a miracle. In that real world, things don't always happen that way. But on this ascension timeline, you can bring things together in a better way. I hope that makes sense. So that which you want to create, even in a changing world, is possible to create. We just have to decide where we are going and the kind of world you want to live in a world. So if we were to throw out those words, then that if we were to throw out what we're looking for, so guys, in the comments, what do you want to see in your world, in the world that you want to be in? Exactly what are you looking for? And that way together, we can make sure that because it's our consciousness, what we put in that consciousness field will become real. Does that makes, I'm hoping that makes sense to all of you. So to change your timeline is really powerful. It means going back to a place where the timelines were together, where maybe you believed everything you were told and things were simpler and there weren't challenges, but you made a decision this way. This decision this way then takes you to these outcomes this way. Now, if you don't like where you're at, then you can actually reverse yourself and go back to the beginning of that bifurcation of the lines. Go back here and then re-envision what you're calling in and go, okay, I'm not happy with this, this, and this. The world I'm living in is abundant. It's prosperous. It's filled with like-minded people. It's light. It's a positive pathway. And we go on this timeline here. So what is it you're creating in your new timeline? Because adapting to change is to be the change you want to be. And knowing that this is our time. This is our time to do what we came here to do. This is our time to establish everything you were born for. Every reason you came in is happening now. Your soul contracts are now from the old are being dissolved, and you're busy creating, and I don't even want to say new contracts because that ties you down. You're accessing the contract of what you really came down here for, and activating those light codes. So right now, what we're going to do is look in our systems, and I want you to look in your systems to see where you're operating out of an old paradigm. Maybe you're doing something that you've just been doing because you don't know how to change it. Or maybe you've been stuck in a ill health pattern or negative emotions pattern. But take a look at that pattern. And if we can even envision it as DNA templates. So your DNA, if we were to notice it, boom, 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 includes different segments. I used to know it all. I studied genetics in college. I was very fascinated by genetics, but they don't teach anything about how to activate your DNA, how to activate the light codes in your DNA, how to remove outdated contracts that are in your DNA, outdated codes. So I want you to take a peek at your, and I'm going to go into this in detail in some of my upcoming classes and programs that I'm going to offer. But take a look at this, and what is it that when you look at your own energy field, what would you like to change? So as I'm here, and you can put it, you can say, oh, I have recurring neck problems, or I have recurring headaches, or I have recurring fear that comes up. Just put it in there. So we have something to work with besides my own DNA templates that I've been working with. Right. So what is it? So maybe you feel stuck. Maybe you feel like, God, I wish I could move from here and be somewhere else. So we can look at that code that's in your DNA and actually remove it and activate it, put in new codes of fearlessness, new codes of being brave, courageous, and bold. So removing anything that keeps you from following that lifelong calling. And so when you've been following your lifelong calling and having issues with it, then it gets kind of stuck in a, I'd like to say, toxic place, because it's something you're working on, but you're butting heads with it. So, okay, we're going to take the timeline that has codes of procrastinating. Let's take a few. We have toxic relationships. We have procrastinating. What else keeps you from manifesting those changes you want to see? Because tonight we have the energy of the collective to help us embrace those changes. Anyone else want to put anything in there? Going once, going twice? Well, we'll start with what we have. All right, so let's start by passing energy through ancestral trauma. Thank you, Danielle. Great, good. So we start by rubbing our hands together. And I do that, it's not necessary to do that, but I do that because then I can feel you. And I can kind of feel all of you. I can feel the energies that are coming through. And that way I'm going to know when we're going to change them. Good. So all right, dear ones from Source, looking down here, we're looking down here at these light codes. We're looking down here at the DNA codes that we are right now cutting out pieces of any codes in your system, any contracts for fear, any contracts for anxiety. We are actually removing and cutting away contracts for continued ancestral trauma. Programs of continued abuse, programs of continual fear, programs of procrastination and distractions. And I see it when I look at it as if I'm looking at a long sentence or long thing of words. And in a certain segment, it says fear. So I cut, delete, cut, delete, cut, delete, cut out procrastination, cut out fear, cut out uncertainty, cut out anxiety, cut out procrastination, cutting out toxic relationships. There is a segment in that DNA strand that has not just one toxic relationship, but a pattern of continued toxic relationships. Cut, delete, cut, delete, cut, delete. Illness, poor health, poor diets, struggle, worry, poverty, inferiority complexes, lack of confidence, lack of compassion, lack of self-loathing. Self-loathing is a big one in there, guys. It's under self-loathing, it's under lack of self-love. It is huge. It is huge in many of you. Self-doubt, all of that. It's like a big black, big thing in there. So right now, cutting out, deleting, and removing, and removing, and removing, and removing, and replacing. And now we have a very short strand of DNA. This DNA is pure. It has nothing that's dark in it. It doesn't have old contracts that are keeping you stuck. And now we're going to insert new programs. So what are we replacing it with? Healthy relationships. So we're going to go in and create a block called healthy relationships. And it's not quite a block, because a block would mean that it's self-limiting. Healthy relationships, a code for healthy relationships restored in that DNA strand. A code for productivity installed in that DNA template. Let's install codes for self-confidence. So self-confidence is a big code. Self-confidence includes self-love, self-nurturing, it's like self-talk. Self-loving is the word I want to use. So self-loving is in there. So self-love, self-confidence, building our positive self. This is going to be a big part of your new DNA timeline. So if you can actually see that strand, and we're lighting up those sections. So self-love is rainbow. It's rainbow colored. Productivity is a beautiful, I don't know, what color is it? It's a beautiful blue. Self-productivity. Health, beautiful green. So a whole code in there for healthy living, healthy body, healthy habits, healthy way of being, healthy greeting, healthy adaptations. Okay. Now, removing a code for distractions. We've removed that. Let's build up a code for focus. The code for focus would be clarity. Removing clarity, clear sight, clear vision, clear, what do you call it when you just can go to it? Not losing sight of where you're going. So within these codes now, within your DNA strand, if you were to sit outside and look in, you'd see these sections which are lighting up with love and happiness. Confidence is in that code of yours. The ability to relate well to people is in that code. The ability to step into the miraculous is in that code. Now, when you have codes that are able to handle change, so we're going to say in those codes, we're going to put in flexibility and adaptability into those codes. And these are the codes that make up your template, that make up who you are, that you can take with you. You don't need those old codes. Those are gone. You're going to take this new code of you as a healthy human. So when we talk about healing the people on earth, we're talking about upgrading your DNA templates, upgrading your concept of who you are and who you are in the new world. So, oh boy. So I see this. I am going to send love and light to to her. My date was Bruce. You're going to have to, oh, yes. Okay, I'm going to talk about that too. People passing away. Thanks for letting me know that, Carl. And I remember the day you and I met. It was in a pizza place. And it was very fascinating. And yes, it was in honor of Erwin, who looks just like Shrek, or Shrek just like Erwin. And that is where we met and talk about change, because that was in 2013, long time ago. And since then, I have added new codes of acceptance, love, positivity, confidence, achieving your mission. Those are all in those new codes. All right, so how does that feel, my friends? Anyone notice a shifting with that? So that's level 1. Second level is the following: knowing in our codes that no matter what happens, this too will pass. We can deal with it. We can handle anything that comes our way. When we feel confident, when we feel focused, we can actually do what we came here to do. So when I was flying home from Mexico, I had an encounter on New Year's Eve with this beautiful crystal skull called AIU. And I actually have a video I did on an interview with AIU, but Shabate, who's the wisdom keeper, the skull keeper, brought over AIU, and I put my crown to AIU, and I felt AIU laughing. It was really kind of joyful. If you feel a crystal laughing, you won't know you feel it until you feel it. You can't make it up. You can't pretend it. But I felt laughter, and I had met the skull once before, and nothing had happened, except that the skull had said to me, you need to practice toning the sounds of AIU. Okay, so now it's New Year's Eve. I put my third eye to the skull's third eye, and I feel the skull laughing, and I feel a connection. And the next day we're on the plane, and on the plane, it was very rough. It was extremely scary. Good, Emily, keep working with that energy. So it was very, very scary. It was bumpy. The plane was going this way and this way. And I'm a scaredy cat. I'm going to confess, I get scared really easily. And suddenly I found myself connecting to the skull, AIU, which was quite amazing. And AIU actually told me this, that he was going to help hold me steady and learn how to steady the waves of turbulence that were on the plane, which is the same waves we're looking at now, waves of turbulence. They could be in the air for the planes, or it could be on the ground for the humans, for us to deal with. So I began to see, so I kept calling on AIU for support. And as I was doing this, I had a vision of a lighthouse, and that where we were going was this lighthouse all the way in the future, like here. Here's the lighthouse. And I'm here, and that my guides were telling me, and AIU was telling me, as long as I am focused on where I am going, we can calm these turbulent waves. So I'm on the plane, freaked out in my body that this is all happening. At the same time, now I'm sitting there, I'm holding my hands up because I'm like sending energy to that tower of light so I don't lose it, which I'm holding in my sight, so I don't lose sight of it, like my compass, my North Star. So AIU, and I'm chanting the tones of AIU. I'm on the plane, right? I don't think anyone can hear me, but I think Victoria said she heard me on the other side. And I'm holding, and I'm sending light to this direction to hold steady. So one way we can heal the currents is to actually send energy and hold steady to our destination, which is like having a point where we're going, like the North Star. When we know where we're going, we can't get lost. So I sent energy out. I'm hearing AIU kind of reminding me to keep focused, don't lose focus. And so anytime that lighthouse started to shift, I'd go back and I'd see it, and I'd keep chanting, keep sending energy to it. And AIU is explaining to me that this is the same way we ride the waves on the planet or in our own life or what is going on here. So when you know where you're going, or you can see the lighthouse, or you can see your North Star, and you energize it so that you can energize the pathway, you can calm the waters. You can calm the turbulence. Aha. Okay. So, Christian, are you talking about now AIU? Made me vibrate for 3 days. So, did you actually feel AIU? What is that? What are you trying to tell us? Because the frequency that it put out so that we wouldn't get lost is exactly what we need to do. And it's telling me the same thing. When you can decide, even like what we're talking about tonight, which are the qualities you want in your template, the qualities of self-love, the qualities of prosperity, or productivity, or healthy relationships, or confidence. Those are the qualities. If that becomes your North Star and you energize it with whatever you do, and you ask to be in alignment with it, it will steady the waters. Okay? That is a long explanation of what it is. So when I was 30, I had this vision of healing and inspiring, and I never lost sight of it. But it wasn't as if I activated it. It was there in the future as what I wanted, but it wasn't until AI taught me just on January 1st, how to do it, and you set it up as if you're seeing a lighthouse in your eye, and that's where you're going. You're going towards these qualities. You're going towards this lifestyle. You're going towards the calmness and the certainty. And then you actually send energy to it, and you can try chanting the tones of AIU, AIU, AIU. I'm going to find that video later, and I'll go back and post it on my YouTube for you guys to find it. But because it was very interesting, you can see the skull, and Neil and I interviewed her. And I'm going to interview her again, I think, now that I have fallen in love with AIU. So later on that night, I sent her a note. I said, AIU helped me keep the plane steady, because I actually think it helped keep the plane steady. I could feel that the waves were calming down. So what's the key? Again, hold sight of what you want, where you're going, the qualities that you're incorporating into your higher frequency DNA templates, the qualities of those positive vibrations. And that is what you're going to get. AIU, and I'm going to spell it here. AIU, A-I-U, is the name of a crystal skull. That is the wisdom, or the skull keeper is a woman by the name of Shivati. And she's going to be at the Crystal Skull Conference in a few months in Sedona too. So Shivati is the skull keeper, the wisdom keeper of this skull. Now, AIU is the name of the skull. And when she first got the skull wouldn't even, just told her to chant the tone A. So you go A, I'm not going to tone by myself because really I have a bad voice. A, and then I, and U. And so Neil taught me how to tone that, because AIU said to me that, and I heard it in my head, if you want to connect to me, you have to practice toning these vowels, A, I, U. So I know I thought it was AIU, but it's spelled the way I put it in the comments. So the more I tone that, the more the did I spell that wrong? So the more I tone it, the more the waves calm down. AIU. But it's not so much that you connect to the crystal skull, so much as you connect to what is my destination? What is that North Star that I'm seeking, that I don't want to lose? Where am I going? So that no matter what happens around you, you still have that connection to that lighthouse or that destination without getting lost. I hope this makes sense. These are complicated concepts. They're not light, hard to discuss on Miracle Monday, but they create miracles. They literally create miracles because now your whole system sees you're on this new timeline, not the old timeline. You're on a new timeline. You actually set the course, like your rudder for your ship is headed in a new direction. All right. So, any feedback, guys? Okay. So, Christian, very interesting that you run bulldozers. Okay. So, the sound of the bulldozers is probably a machine sound. And what I have discovered is that there's a hum. So I had a very famous sound healer come over, Stephen Halpern, one day to when I used to do readings up in Marin, and he came over, and he walked in the house, and it wasn't like a normal person. Okay, he walked in the house, I could see his ears perking up, and he went and he turned off the refrigerator, and then he went to the dryer, and he started to play music to the sound of the dryer. He started beating the drums to the sound of the dryer. And then I think I had something else running, and he played music to the sound of the fans. And he taught me very simply that even the sounds our house makes, or the sound the airplane makes, or the sound your car makes, that humming vibration, you can upgrade it to toning. So when I toned on the plane, those syllables, AIU, it was in harmony because I was harmonizing with what could be a bulldozer or a refrigerator or a washing machine. So those sounds that you hear in your house, like right now I hear a clock in the back. It's kind of interesting. So I could start toning to that clock that I hear. So find something that is a droning kind of sound. You could also use that. So on your big thing that you work on, that bulldozer, if there's a sound that the bulldozing machine makes, you can kind of harmonize with it, these tones, and you will find it quite interesting. Yes, it's usually like a humming of some kind. Normally you don't think of it. It's in the background where you go, oh God, that's my refrigerator again. But you hear it in the background, but you can take that vibration and start to tone on it. So AIU is the resonant frequency of this particular crystal skull. Now, there's other kinds of toning you could do. You can just do the whole alphabet, A-E-I-O-U, as another way to do it. But I like to do it AIU because AIU actually told me to tone that, and he would come to me. And I'm hearing that he might come to you. Why not? I don't own this. So it's usually like a humming sound, my friends. Okay? Humming, humming, humming. Which is also why if you're in a room chanting or doing ohms with other people, when, especially if they're more in tune than you are, when you start to do Om, you find your voice does its own thing in getting in resonance with people. So one way you can hold steady with the new direction would be, again, and I want to repeat it because some of you just hopped on, is you can see where you're going, see it as the North Star. I see it as a lighthouse. Imbue it with what you're seeking there, the qualities, the productivity, the confidence, the happiness, the joyful relationships, love, peacefulness, prosperity, all of those things that are on that timeline. And you can enervate it by sending energy to it and by toning these sacred tones, or by chanting Om or Hu, whatever kinds of tones you want to chant. and you can actually find it on YouTube and amplify your own toning so it sounds better with the sounds of other people's tones around you. Huh. Okay, Patricia, your feedback is helping because I wanted to share with you that about the changes I've gone through. They've been challenging on a physical level, but on a spiritual level, they've been really productive. But you have to be able to hold steady to where you're going. All right, I hear and feel a low humming or a sound. But I want to read some of these. So let's go back. We're going to go back to, okay, my hearing is not great. Sometimes it's so great I have to step out of my house. So this is kind of interesting. Your hearing's not great, but you still hear a motor running all the time. And you feel the vibration from the sound of it, and yet your partner cannot hear it. So he has excellent hearing. You don't, but you're hearing a vibrational hum. That vibrational hum, is it from the house? Is it from the earth? So it's not a problem with your hearing. I did ask that. And it's not a problem with your house. And it's not even coming from the house. So it is the sound. And by the way, guys, the earth has its own sound. It has its own humming. So when you say when you step out of the house, you don't hear it, Patricia. That is a little conundrum. I would say when you're in the house, start using this practice and start toning to it or chanting to it and see what happens. See if you can break it up. See if you can ever have a break from it. And actually, I'm really wondering, what is that sound from? Is it from the house? I don't get that it's really from the house. Is it the earth under the house? It's the earth under the house. Now, why you don't hear it somewhere else, we can explore it more though. It is something to really think about. I don't quite have an answer. All right, Patricia, you've had experiences with the crystal skulls. Yes, and so if you go back and right, okay. That's right. So Tina Marie has it. The humming is actually the sounds of the earth. When it's not your refrigerator or your washing machine, it is the sounds of the earth. And oftentimes we need to actually go outside and hear the humming of the earth and put our feet on the earth so we can hear it. And that high ringing, if you hear it, start chanting to it, humming or toning to it. See if you can if you can align with the frequency of it and take it to a higher realm. Isn't that interesting? The fan, okay, so for you, a fan puts you into a sleep state. Now I had a boyfriend when I was in chiropractic school who needed to have the vacuum on to go to sleep. All right, I've never heard of anything so crazy in my life, but he would take naps literally sleeping on top of the vacuum cleaner. There was something about the hum. So for many people, that humming can calm your nerves, and if you can get into it, or it could be a distraction. So, but that's actually a really good thing. You can meditate to it. There's certain delta sounds to it. Now, if you're also having issues from the sounds, though, there are certain websites that have sounds that just are all tones and they're bizarre tones that they're like white sound, and they get rid of other sound. So you can start doing that as well. High frequencies came through. Well, you must have all known we were doing Miracle Monday tonight. Constant high pitch. So try toning to it and try chanting to it to see if you can even change that to a higher frequency or even direct it. So try doing that. And being aware of your own sleeping patterns are also important. It's a funny conversation. All right, any other comments on that? And yes, these are activations. So a constant high pitch. So it used to be when I was a chiropractor, I would think that a constant high pitch was a misalignment in your neck, but that's not true. It's probably most likely that you have this other connection. And so again, if you're hearing those high pitches, start out loud chanting or toning. Just do A-E-I-O-U or A-I-U, but try to harmonize to it and create another sound. And I'm going to be very curious to hear what comes through with that. Meanwhile, has anyone experienced any shifting in their energy now? Because what we've done is we've actually set you onto a new timeline. So if you came on the show today and you agreed to be here on the show and you're doing this work with us, you are actually working onto a new timeline, and our conscious field, the consciousness field, is actually shifting and adapting to this. So if you don't hear high sounds, you might hear them tonight. If you do hear the high sounds, then what you might find is even more clarity with it and what it's communicating. Sometimes those high sounds are also a bridge between you and the heavenly realms. The lower based sounds are you and the earth. Go outside, take your shoes off, put your feet in the earth and hear it. So the ringing in your ears, brown-eyed girl, is the same kind of thing. So again, if you're hearing the ringing in your ears, which is interesting, I do hear ringing in my ears sometimes, and it's random. Or it's when there's no sound at all, and suddenly I hear it. Like you said, ringing in the ears. And I said, oh, usually when I hear a silence, I'm going, am I hearing ringing in the ears? But I'm not at this moment. So it's your ringing in your ears. But again, try this suggestion. Now you feel vibrations in your ear, ringing in your ears. You can still sing. You have toned your voice and have been using the vibration to your advantage. Very, very interesting that you're still feeling the vibration. So let's do a little process before we go. That's going to help you hear a little more. I call it auditory flossing. All right. It's very simple. You imagine right now that you have a big, big, thick piece of floss. All right. And in this floss, you start to take it. So sometimes we do it this way, but tonight we're going to do it this way. And you literally start to clear up your ears. You pull it one way and turn it. You pull it the other way and you turn it. You pull it this way, you turn it. You want to clear up anything that's stuck in here. You go this way, you go this way, you go this way. Who missed Miracle Monday? Anyone here missed Miracle Monday? I couldn't believe it yesterday. I finally realized, thank you, that was synchronistic. Yesterday, I realized, oh my God, I'm back. I'm stable in one place again with Wi-Fi. So I had to figure out where I was going to be on Monday nights with accurate Wi-Fi that actually worked in a room that was quiet. And that took me several weeks to actually get back to being able to do this. So I think it's really powerful. Okay, feeling better and happier. Miracle Monday always makes me feel good. Brown-eyed girl, I want you to practice with that. When you hear it, start toning and humming or chanting, all of that. When you do this, you're going to feel even more vibrations in here. Use your tuning fork and listen to the vibrations. So the tuning forks are really powerful. And if you put it at the top of your head like this, from your crown on up, you will actually activate your crown chakra. But I'll save that for the next time. All right, so who here is feeling better? Higher energy, higher frequency. You know now that you can handle anything, because in that new DNA, we also put flexibility, adaptability, creativity, the ability to easily shift, the ability to go with the flow and to go with the new current that is of your choosing. Remember, we're on the timeline that you've chosen. All right. So Good. Kathy's feeling better. Patricia's feeling better. Christian's happy. Emily's happy. Tina Marie is happy. I always want Tina Marie happy. Guys, send Tina Marie love, who's feeling a bit more confident here, a bit more empowered. Wow, wow, wow. I love this, Patricia. I'm going to read this out loud. I went to hear the wilderness to see if the sounds were from the cities, because yes, the cities also have a sound. In the wilderness, I was able to hear all the sounds of the earth. I'm feeling a wonderful shift tonight, Joan. So good. All right. I love you all. Please like and share this out with your tribe if you got value of it. I would like to see growth in the show to reach more people, to help do positive energies. I am back. I will be somewhere stable next Monday. I've already figured that part out. So all is good. Up and right on time. My son is called. He always calls on Miracle Monday. All right, guys. So I want to talk about a few other things. My website is undergoing a change. Normally I send you all to see my website, joanofangels.com. It is undergoing a change, but you can see all my new changes on my Instagram. I put down all the new services there. The energy that we're working with now comes from a higher energetic level. I'm offering new services like wing fluffing, oracle readings, spiritual chiropractic, aligning your body, mind, and spirit. So take a peek there. You can find, I remember that link now. I'm going to put it right here. Linktree. I think that's a thing. So you can find a lot of what I'm doing right here. Linktree.com. If it works right, it would take you to the site. It doesn't. Okay. But it's something like that. Go check out the Instagram. All right. And all of my channels are using this particular hashtag at Joan of Angels. All right, guys. Use your intuition. Use these tools. Focus on where you're going and chant your way through it. You will steady the waters. You will get to where you're going. And we will all be meeting on this other timeline. All right. I love you all. Thank you for joining us on Miracle Monday. May you have an amazing and fantastic week. We love you all, and we will see you all next week. And so it is. Thanks.